Q4 is almost here and Bitcoin is ready to make its final push of this cycle. We've either already had the bottom at 107k and will soon get the acceleration to all-time highs and beyond, followed by an altcoin season, or potentially after this chop, we make one more low before we go for it. Either way, we end up in this range no matter what the scenario is. I really feel that Bitcoin and other crypto are about to hit some pretty extraordinary numbers. I think we are in that acceleration phase. We've seen this twice already in crypto. Not last cycle, but for instance, in 2017, in just 11 weeks, starting on the week of September 25th, Bitcoin went up 450%. And even back in 2013, where Bitcoin went up 800% in 9 weeks. So for this cycle, am I saying Bitcoin's about to go up 1000% at 10x in 8 weeks? No, obviously not. I'm saying even though there's a little time left, maybe 8 to 12 weeks, we still could see some pretty spectacular moves. And with that being the case, it is paramount that you take profits this time. This cycle, Bitcoin has had multiple runs. Altcoins also put up multiple runs. A lot of people did not take profits, they bag held. You cannot have that happen to you again. And so in this video, we will be discussing taking profits for the final run of this cycle. If you do not have an exit strategy planned out already, targets, goals laid out, then you are already one step behind. But I will give you a very good tip for how to take profits for this final run, a technique that you can apply. Because the reality is that these markets are moving from a buying to a selling type of environment. Soon, a lot of these videos I make will be purely on how to sell and what to sell and when to sell. And don't get me wrong, we'll still have buying opportunities in between. For example, the launch of Aster recently, it's at $1.83 right now. It does not seem like it's cooling off. You have to realize the supply of this coin is fairly manipulated. There's not that many tokens out there. The sell pressure is not what people think it's going to be. Even though a pullback is warranted and could happen by the time this video comes out. I mean, realistically, $2, $3, $4 and beyond is probably doable. Now, this was a fairly easy trade. And there will be more like this when things really get going. Now, this was a trade that a lot of people caught. It's not one to be too proud of. I think, for example, I gave this trade twice in my exclusive group. First to the premium members at around 40 odd cents, and then again to everyone at around 90 cents. This is a great example of a trade to top blast. Don't get me wrong, I think you're probably seeing a lot of other YouTubers saying they caught this trade. This one was not that difficult. But that's the point of actually a bull market. You get trades like this. So again, lock in, but we can discuss that more down the line. Again, this video is to focus on selling. So this is a very simple strategy that you can use to sell, okay? It's 101. No matter what your crypto experience is, even if you're a complete beginner, this will help out a lot, okay? So it has to do with liquidity pockets that got built up in the past from a chart. I will show you an example here where it's still yet to take place so you can know where to place the levels. And then I will show you multiple examples of this and just how powerful it is, how easy and how great of a tool this truly is. So on a chart like this, right, where a coin is significantly down, don't pretend this is DOT. Pretend this is just any coin, okay? Not DOT. In this altcoin season, this coin will pump and then dump, and that's it, right? And to sell, we're trying to get as close to that top, that pump as possible. How do we know where that top comes in? There's so many different things, right? Fib retracements and different wave theories, momentum indicators, whatever it is. But again, what I'm about to show is a pretty strong tool where once price approaches the levels I'm about to show you, there's a pretty strong chance that it rejects from there and calls it a top. To find these liquidity pockets, you're simply going to go on a higher time frame. Start with the monthly, and all you're going to find is breakdown points of accumulation candles that are yet to be tested. And to simplify it even further, accumulation is basically the green candles. You're looking for green candles that are yet to be touched, okay? So what does that mean? On the monthly, for the dot chart here, this is a green monthly candle yet to be touched. And there's two parts of this candle that you can touch. The first part is where the wick is, which would be right here. And the second part is where the body closed on the bottom. So that would be here. And that's it. These are some of the most significant and dense levels that Polkadot has, which will be very tough to get through. Mark my words. So much so that there's a decent shot that DOT tops here this cycle. Now, if it gets past that, there is one more monthly candle, and that is up here. The wick and body are very close. I marked both off, but those are the main two levels, okay? So if DOT doesn't top here and somehow gets through that, then it probably rejects off this. It is that simple. Now I will be showing you numerous examples of this taking place. And while we're working through this, obviously before I say it, you try to figure it out yourself, okay? So this is the chart for H-bar. Now H-bar had a pretty fantastic run in that run last year, right? The one at the end of the year where it went from 4 cents to 40 cents, almost a 10x. Now if you were in H-bar since back then, looking at this chart, if we put the replay on, all you had to do with this chart really was mark out two key levels. Based on what I said with that DOT example, that would have been this candle right here, the last green candle before things fall off. So that's the wick and that is the close. And then there is one more candle, the one up here, the wick and the close. And so what happens next? H-bar goes on an insane run. All of crypto Twitter and YouTube is saying it's doing great, all-time highs are next. But no, you're aware it has two candles to go through, which will be massive burdens to get through, and it won't be that easy. And if we look at what transpired, we can see that actually, to my surprise, H-bar did cut right through this first candle, which was kind of a surprise, but it stopped at this second candle. Now you may be saying, Payne, well, I guess you're right, but look how deep these wicks got. If I just would have sold here, I would have left some extra gains. H-bar would have gone up an extra 15%. So I guess this is kind of good, but it's not the best thing, which I would say, okay, fair enough. Everything I said applies to every time frame. So you could break down this monthly candle to the weekly, which would be the time frame lower. And it is the same idea on the weekly. So take a second with me now to mark out the key weekly levels. Well, as you can see, we have one right here, this candle, right? That's the wick I just marked out. I'll make it a different color for the weekly. I'll make it orange. And that is the close of the body. That monthly candle, the one we broke through, well, this also had a weekly level, which would be this wick and this body close. So let's now zoom out and see how that would have worked out. And now you can see that that weekly candle is actually where H-bar got stopped and rejected from and topped. It is very likely for this altcoin season in 2025 that we break through these candles, right? That we won't reject there. But for those charts that have dumped a lot, these key weekly candles are exactly that key to point out and predetermined right now. Now here's another example, XLM. So again, on the monthly, 2024, that run, XLM just went crazy, right? Put up a ridiculous monthly candle. This was just 1 month it did this in November, right? From 8 cents to 62. Look where it topped. Well, with the strategy I used, there's a pretty decent chance you could have sold the exact top. Now, there's a little bit of a difference, right? Because this monthly candle on XLM does not count because it's already been tested multiple times. Once a monthly candle is tested, it has been cleared and it won't work to the same extent that it does on its first try. Once it rejects from it, it probably breaks through it next time. So this isn't something you would have marked out in the beginning. This candle could have been this one right here. And our monthly candles were blue, so I'll make it blue again. But this one technically works, as does this one down here. But see how this one down here was tested up here and rejected off of exactly? Well, on that second shot, it went straight through. This one has some nuances because it's not an exact candle and breakdown. It did have a deviation above. But what about this top, right? Well, okay, let's do the next step. Go down to the weekly. This is super clean, right? Green candle and then a complete breakdown. That green candle will be very significant for the next time it gets up here. So let's mark out those weekly candles in orange and see what kind of impact they have. And as you can see in 2024, on the exact dime, they got up there and rejected, called it a top. But also now remember what I said. Since this has been tested, the next time it comes up here, it will not serve as the same type of resistance. It probably breaks above it. Now look at AVAX. Right? Same thing. It had just one monthly level. It already tested it and rejected off of it. But AVAX is still down here, right? It's pretty likely that it does run somewhere up here for this final run, right? Before it tops. Could AVAX make an all-time high? Sure. But where can it top, right? I mean, let's figure this out. What are some key levels to pay attention to? Well, let's go down to the weekly and plan it out. And on the weekly, there's none because this one has already been tested by this one. So this is cleared. We can get rid of that. This one is not cleared. So the weekly does have one, right? That's right here. So I'll get rid of this. And my biggest tip would be this. If you hold Avalanche, pay very strong attention to that $90 mark because there's a pretty decent shot that Avalanche tops there. We'll come back to this video in the future. Again, make sure you're subscribed and we'll see how this all works out. But now we'll go through a couple more where we can project potential tops. What about Curve? You guys know I'm a very big fan of Curve. I put all of my Solana into it down at 20 cents. Well, what was the idea? Well, this kind of helped out. Trying to get a 10x because I see a pretty thick monthly candle that Curve could potentially top at, right? So if you're holding Curve, you want to pay attention between that $1.87 and $2.44. Now, in my Discord group, Curve is one of our highest priority coins. This is one step of many. I can't give out all the tips and tricks. Not yet, at least. But like I said, opening up with this video, we're going from buying to selling. You need to program that selling side of your mind. This is how it begins. And that is what I'm doing in my group. I'm getting them all ready to sell. And as you can tell, my goal at least is to sell pretty close to the top. I want to make the most gains possible. So if you think you need help in selling and you don't want to bag hold yet again, and you just want to make something this cycle, right? Something decent. Watch my last video where I explained how you can still get a 4 to 10x. But for that selling part, if you need help, there is a link to my group in the description. Make sure to check that out. Spots are limited. I spend pretty much all of my time there versus here on YouTube because in there it's constant communication. I get to know all of you versus on YouTube where you post a video. You get pretty ungrateful comments from time to time. I'd rather be in a place where there's a lot more love and people a lot more focused on making money in crypto. So if you literally want to ask me, hey, I'm buying this coin, I'm holding this coin, when should I sell? And you want hand holding during that time, then again, check that out. These liquidity pockets are just one of many steps that I'll be applying and giving out. I tweeted not so long ago that just make sure you come out with something. Follow me there on Twitter. There's a link in the description. I stand by it. Don't fixate on what this guy's making or this girl's making. Focus on yourself. Focus on getting size. Amplify your wealth. Get a 2, 3, 4x. Get out. There's always a new play. That Aster play proved it. And just be ready because I don't think we have much time left. I did tell you that I'd go back to posting a lot more often. We're doing that now, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll be giving way more tidbits out like this. I don't just give the daily Bitcoin update. There's a lot of channels out there for that. On this one, it's about different pieces of knowledge, putting it together, and trying to make money in crypto. So if you enjoyed, leave a like. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time.